If you've ever played a video game before, it's more than likely that you've experienced some sort of bug or glitch. Whether it's Missing No from the Pokemon series or the Corrupted Blood incident from World of Warcraft, we've all had our run-ins with these unintentional problems. Does having glitches in your game mean that your game is flawed? In this video, I'm going to be discussing video game glitches, how they happen, how they can be used, and how they can be prevented. There are many different forms of glitches. There are movement glitches, out-of-bounds glitches, loading glitches, mechanical glitches, and many more that can't be narrowed down to any specific category. Movement is something you do in basically every game ever, but how many of those games do you think to move backwards? Over the years, gamers have discovered that a lot of the time, while devs tend to cap their character's forward movement speed, they tend to ignore the player's backwards movement speed. Because who would walk backwards, right? In Portal by Valve in 2007, players discovered that they could make their character move extremely fast through the level by utilizing a tactic known as bee hopping, or bunny hopping, while moving backwards to cause their character to fly backwards at drastic speeds. Another negative movement speed glitch, one of the most famous ones, is the BLJ, or backwards long jump from Super Mario 64. While trying to optimize movement in this game, players discovered that by timing long jumps backwards against certain objects in the game, usually a staircase, they can build up large amounts of negative movement speed, which can cause them to shoot backwards, to the point where they can pass through doors and walls. This glitch allows players to bypass many restricted areas early in the game, allowing for a quick completion. However, utilizing this glitch has allowed players to beat it with as little as 16, 1, or even 0 stars. In The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker, players can manipulate Link's movement speed to send him flying across the map at rapid speeds, all by spinning around in some water. By flipping Link back and forth in the water, you're able to build up movement speed. The problem with this is that in normal gameplay, Link will lose movement speed turning back and forth, keeping him from gaining too much speed. However, by utilizing pause buffering, players are able to make frame-perfect turns with Link, allowing him to build up massive amounts of speed, which honestly looks extremely funny when executed by both the player and the character. Some other movement exploits include arm pumping in Super Metroid, where the player aims up and down with Samus's arm cannon to move her a few pixels faster when running, bomb jumping, where players time the explosion from Samus's bombs to allow her to gain height and go places where she normally can't reach, and bullet time bouncing in The Legend of Zelda: Breath of the Wild, where players take advantage of the bullet time mechanic while using a shield to launch themselves off of enemies to fly far places across the map. While some people may not consider some of these as glitches per se, they were still unintended, so they're glitches in my books. When it comes to stopping these types of glitches from occurring in your games, a lot of them can be prevented simply by doing things such as implementing speed caps for all directions. This is easier to do nowadays than it was in the past, which is typically why you don't see many of these glitches in recent games. Things like the bomb jump in Super Metroid actually became main series mechanics after Super Metroid, even being seen in the latest game, Metroid Dread from 2021. A boundary is the area in which players are allowed to move around inside of a video game. But what happens when players get outside of those boundaries? How do those players get outside of the boundaries? In the original Metroid for the Nintendo Entertainment System, players were able to utilize a glitch known as door jumping to get to different areas of the game early. As the name implies, you perform this glitch by letting one of the room transition doors close on Samus. After this, the player must rapidly press the A button and down on the D-pad to gain upward momentum. This allows players to transition upward through the walls onto different screens of the game as they are loaded in one by one. This isn't much of a modern issue, as different levels are loaded in much more efficiently than they did back on the NES. In Unity, this can be avoided by making each room a different scene that you can swap between using the Unity Scene Manager. In The Legend of Zelda: Ocarina of Time, there is a very complex exploit you can perform known as wrong warping. To put it simply, wrong warping is when players find very specific area data in the code and do very precise actions in order to manipulate that data into the area code that they desire. This happens because of the engine that Nintendo uses for their games. This shouldn't be an issue for anyone using Unity because of the way it handles loading. However, with improper scripting, a similar effect could be recreated by manipulating Unity's scene management system. While not all being game-breaking, here are a few glitches that are well known for giving their players some laughs. While not necessarily a glitch, the term known as Skyrim climbing originates from Skyrim, where players just run at cliff sides and keep jumping until they're able to climb up the side of it, often done using a horse. This often allows players to get to unintended areas early. This could be avoided with things like invisible walls, or overall just better colliders. In The Sims 4, there was a pretty infamous glitch that caused the player's baby to completely glitch out into a long stretchy mess. In my research, I couldn't figure out exactly why this glitch happened, but I can assume it has to do with the model transferring from one set destination to the next, and not rendering properly as it moves. Finally, in Heavy Rain, there is a very famous glitch where during a segment of the game, the player can yell out for their son Sean. However, if the player presses the X button to call out for Sean just as a cutscene starts, every following push of the X button will result in them screaming out for Sean, even after the intended area, which allows for some pretty funny cutscenes. This is more than likely an oversight and could easily be coded out by disabling the ability to keep cueing the audio after the scene starts. But what does any of this mean for you as a game developer? Are your games destined to be full of bugs and glitches? Probably, but that's okay. You as a developer cannot possibly know every single thing that a player is going to do in your game. How are you supposed to know that by playing until a specific point in Ocarina of Time and then changing cartridges is going to allow a player to instantly beat your game? Truth is you can't, but I personally believe there's two paths that you can take as a developer regarding these glitches. You can try to prevent them, or you can run with them. QA testers are always a good way to see what kind of mistakes you may have overlooked in your game. Playtests are a developer's best friend. Even if you miss some bugs and glitches, that's okay. Live patches are a great thing that modern games use to fix bugs. Bugs can also lead to great things for your game. Some games are known for having glitches that make the game more fun. In the world of a game developer, all publicity is good publicity. At the end of the day, more people playing your game is awesome. You can also take advantage of these bugs. Some of these bugs could be cool new game mechanics for all you know. At the end of the day, no one is perfect. Games will have glitches, so don't beat yourself up about it. Who knows, you may even end up on a video like this. Just make sure you don't make any bugs that make your game unenjoyable for the player. This has been Willem Vidler, and keep making those games.